Ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bá jó, ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bá jó, olúwa mi ò dìde ojó ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀.
Welcome to Theoryforge Chronicles. I am Phantom X, as always joined by Sog, Legendary Neurotoxin, and Diggs, and special guest Duke Jon Warren. How is everybody doing?
Doing good.
Fantastic.
Great. So we are continuing with DSS, and we have a very special guest. You've been with us before, and I'm sure a lot of people already know you, but why don't you just kind of real quickly tell people who maybe don't know what your role within Illyria is, and yeah.
Alrighty. I'm Duke Jon Warren. I'm from the Duchy of Vitalis in the Kingdom of Elysia on the NA East server. I run a community of basically 12 counts and or 24 count, and yeah, we're in the middle of getting it all settled. Basically, smack dab in the center of our map.
And are you going with Duke, or is there some other Illyria title that you're going to use?
For the foreseeable future, I think Duke works fine.
Okay.
But you will be Weird.
Oh, yeah. Initially, at least.
You're gonna magically change your own character's race or tribe?
No, it makes sense for a Weird to be called Duke to people outside the Weird because they aren't really revealing to their inner workings. So to everyone else, yeah, call me Duke. That's the analog that makes sense to you jerks. And the Weird would have their own internal, naming and stuff. That makes sense, actually.
Also, we may be able to change the tribe makeups before exposition and launch. Kingdoms of Illyria is 52 weeks long, so in 52 weeks there's a lot of breeding and such that you can do to kind of change populations in certain ways. I don't know that I'd want to change it too much, but having other options for like the starting tribe for the Duke would be nice.
So you're not excited to play Weird?
I am. The Weird do have some limitations that make me kind of uneasy, like the way they interact with their religious mechanics. They can't break a religious edict, and so that basically means that a part of your reputation is controlled by a religious organization, possibly in the semi-arid desert. Which I see as a slight security concern.
But what if the twofold queen doesn't want you to bring in other tribes?
Oh, but wouldn't you want everyone to worship?
Yeah,
I don't plan to understand the workings or the mind of the twofold queen. I think you just have to do what you're told. Sometimes you gotta go with the flow. Sometimes you gotta stab some people. I think that's how I understand the religion.
Although the cool thing about like our specific positioning is that since we are the northernmost Weird Duchy, we will be the closest to the Naren and the Kipik home biomes. So that we'll probably see some bleed over as far as tribes go. I'm hoping to get some Kipik, hoping to get some Naren, mix things up. But yeah, we've got some fun plans for KOE.
And do you have some spoilers that you can share about your general plan? Like, how would you like your duchy to be experienced?
Basically, we want to create. We're the crossroads physically on our continent. We're at the center. If you travel by land, you basically have to come through us if you're going north or south.
Did you say where? Did you say
So,
what the name of the duchy
oh
is?
yeah, Vitalis.
Tell us.
So in
Yeah.
that land bridge in the center of the Luna server,
Exactly.
right in the middle of it is Vitalis, and it has this tiny little bit of coastline on the east. So the
But-
only way by land you could get around would be if you walked all the way through Ridid and into Zelius. And I think if you're planning on doing that, you might as well just take a boat.
Yeah, because you got to cross 4 or 5 major rivers anyway if you're going to do that.
Mm.
And we have, we've got like 7 counties that have access to the western coast, and then we've got our one county on the east. But we've got huge rivers and lakes stretching throughout the duchy, which is just perfect for the trade focus that we want. We are trying to build something that basically a center for trade and finance, a place where people can come and just create. The crossroads of possibility. Anyone can come, just set up their business and find partners and just take off. And we're perfectly positioned to jumpstart that.
So
And that's
how
where
do
Phantom
your-
X is. Sounds perfect for him.
Oh, actually, we're on the NA East server, I think.
I was kidding.
Yeah.
So how do your neighbors feel about that? So like, let's say that you build up this this reputation where, hey, you know what, if I really care about trade and I care about it on a macro scale, I have to be in Vitalis because it's the best location. But let's say I currently live in Boardwalk, for example, and I just want to walk across the border and go settle there. Are you welcoming to people from other kingdoms? I see that as a very long hike, but are you that open, or is it just like within Elysia, because we have this diverse group of dukes and all kinds of different tribes in our area, and we're cool in our own right? Is that the focus? Do you really want to make it like open to everyone outside?
Yeah, absolutely. I want it to be open. The big thing is, the exchange of goods and information. We can create a hub. We can create, a large commodities exchange in the center. And what I want to do is encourage people to travel through Vitalis, encourage people to come settle in Vitalis, engage with Vitalis. I'm sure we'll have events that aren't just for citizens or residents. We've got some really cool locations planned in the duchy. Whether it's a wildlife preserve or the Las Vegas of Illyria, or we've just the possibilities are endless, and we've got people that are just psyched to be a part of it all. But yeah, it doesn't matter to me whether a person is coming there temporarily to make a quick buck, or if they plan on settling. Like, obviously, if they settle here, fantastic. That's one more person who's building something within the duchy borders, just overall increasing the value, helping out some industry or other. But even the people who are just coming through here to trade, even if they're just traveling through to trade on the other side of Vitalis, some other duchy. All of that brings wealth through our duchy. So I'm a big fan of all
Well,
of it.
even explorers. I mean, right in the middle. Like, I feel like that would be a great place to settle, and then you can just sort of have like an equidistant, right? You can go spend some time up here, come back home, drop off what you got, go down here.
It's going to be a paradise. Everybody's going to flock to that server and that duchy in any case. So, I'm wondering about
they are just wonderful, aren't they? Just the loveliest of folks.
It will be interesting to see how the two different servers work once it starts, because most people in the U.S. can play on either one, so we'll see.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's actually ping from Europe to NA East is real low too, because you're just taking backbone routes. Like, central England to Ashburn is like 170 to 200 ping. It's not like you're barred if you have a good local ISP. It's biggest internet hub in the world, network wise. And but I'm wondering, like, there are some huge kingdoms around there. So Elysia, very nicely filled up with dukes, and my understanding is that many of these they're very different. It's kind of like ragtag group all thrown together. Am I wrong with that perception, or do you guys have more of a unified focus as a kingdom?
Yes and no. Like, that's definitely how we came together. We weren't one unified community starting out, so everybody came in from a different perspective. So absolutely, we had different starting points, and we've developed as a kingdom since then. I'd like to think that we're a lot more cohesive, unified.
Yes. So I want to hear more about that. Like, we have a question. Well, not a question. We have a statement from the Apex Rex that says they already have an identity all their own. So tell us a little bit about that identity and what the community there is like. You say it started kind of disparate visions and has now become something more cohesive.
Yeah.
So what's it like?
It's a melting pot. We're still unique. We've got about a third of the kingdom, I'd say, is PvP focused. A third is science and technology focused. I'll count the naval action into that, and then it's to be honest, it's pretty broad, but like the scope of what people are going into. But I think it has to be at this stage, because there's just so much to do in the world of Illyria.
But what is the identity? Like, Apex Rex says there's an identity, so you got to come together somehow.
I think he means from on the map that when you place in an area that there's already an identity associated with the area. That
I don't think Elysia has a nailed down brand the way that some kingdoms like Boardwall, they've got a brand, and that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of drama, but they've got a brand.
So I'm asking, like, do you guys have drama or you have no drama? That's what I'm thinking of in terms of identity.
Everybody at some point or another has or will have drama.
So there's this river there are these rivers that go to the coast on the west. I mean, that's Vitalis land, right?
Yes.
So, like, this part of Zelius and Ridded, they have pieces on this river. That's just a mistake, and they drew those lines wrong on the map, and you need to rectify that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that's what it looks like to me.
But yeah, what people came up with as far as like predicting the borders there before they actually showed us the map, everybody had it drawn differently, and nobody expected it to be drawn the way it did get drawn. We were all like, okay, all right, that works. I get it.
Definitely going to need more coastline.
Yeah, I
But-
think you do need more coastline. I think you should let them know
agree.
that.
But we've got plenty of coastal access, which I think is the key. We've got, I think, 8 counties currently, counting the one on the east, that connect to the coast. Via it, like 7 of those are rivers on the west, and then we're not sure if that long lake system in the duchy connects to the coast or not. It looks like it's possible in a couple spots, but we're not sure. So we'll see how that works out. We might have to rig up some portage at various points, but I think I don't think coast is going to be a problem for us. The access on the west should serve as our primary shipping concern, and then on the east we might be able to do some trades or something, but we'll figure
If there's a focus on science, you might come up with an alternative. You might discover an alternative form of travel.
I think it's very interesting when you don't have much and you say it's not a problem. Okay, something's going. Got some plans. I'm just messing with it. But
yeah,
I'm just saying.
But no, so we've got plans for how to deal with the minimal amount of coastal access that we do have, but that doesn't necessarily mean like conquering other people's land.
Well, really, I mean, your spot really probably doesn't depend much on coastline, right? Because if someone's going to take a boat, they're going to pretty much bypass the center, right? Because they're trying to go. So they're you're really going to probably, I would imagine, more focused on the travelers coming up on foot or caravans or. I mean,
yes.
you will probably have things you want to export out, which will make sense through.
Yeah, I do want to draw a lot of imports and exports through our coastal access. On the west, those 2 rivers right there, we can pull a lot of trade in through there. I want to incentivize people to come here and basically have it serve as a stopping off point for their goods. So someone, if they're sailing south from Vornair, they can stop here and they can put their goods in a warehouse and set a price that they want them to sell at. And for a small fee, we'll store them in that warehouse. And the minute someone comes in offering to pay that much for those goods, we'll initiate the sale and then message the person in Vornair and say, hey, your money's here. So that's kind of how I want to deal with that. Basically, it saves them the trip of having to go all the way, up or all the way down to trade with the people that they want to trade with.
So you're going to load up coastal areas with large amounts of wealth and goods.
Oh yeah.
Okay, this is enticing now. I want to.
Oh yeah.
I want to see some coastal raiders now. I think this would be
that's absolutely going to happen. And I'd wager that we have. It's kind of ironic, but we have one of the largest starting navies that of any of the duchies near us.
Somebody bought a lot of cutters.
Yeah, cutters, barges, raiders, a few of those, but yeah, we plan on reinforcing our ports. We've got a lot of plans for defense of Italis. We don't have to worry so much about our borders because we have a buffer north and south. The duchies below us. We have at least one duchy between us and other kingdoms. In the north, we've got 2 duchies between us and Vornair. So we only have our coasts as a border to watch.
And tell
So here's a
Duke or
question
Duchess.
for you. With the village of Redbourne, the one closest to the coast, not actually being a port, are you planning to expand that further towards the coast, or are you just going to build an entirely new port that's going to service all of your coastal ships?
Likely we'll expand it. We might build a new port. It kind of depends on what it looks like when we get in there and see it.
Well, there is a port right across the border on the river there. The seaside town of Bridgealia is right there, right where that bridge icon is when you're looking. I think you might need to borrow that.
You know what I think you should do? If you need more coastline, is someone needs to fairly quickly figure out how to build dams so that you can sort of stop some of these rivers, with the explanation being you're just building a reservoir for extra water, less limiting the people downstream until they give you what you want. So,
yeah, and I'm not a huge fan of but I get it. Someone mentioned that, and yeah, I imagine there'll be a lot of economic PvP. As far as neighbors go, I don't really want to get into economic PvP with them. I'd rather find ways that we can be symbiotic. So if they're doing one thing, we do something else and combine it with what they're doing.
Well, because equally, if things don't work out, you're kind of in a negative position, right? Just playing the devil's advocate here, because you're in the middle of where everyone could converge upon you.
Yes, but at that point, our kingdom is screwed. Like if enemies have gotten to us by land.
I was even thinking your own kingdom.
Oh yeah, our own yeah, for sure. No.
Just saying, you probably don't want to make enemies with everyone around you when you're right in the middle.
No day one revolution in Vitalis, that's for sure.
You're not Kairos. You're not separating already.
Oh yeah, no. But
what if the twofold queen told you to?
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's kind of what scares me about the Holy religion. I hope it won't be as just murder crazy as it sounds like it is.
I don't think that has to be murder crazy, but what if she actually just doesn't want you working with the Nerds in the Northwest?
The one thing that I was like, okay, the Weird might have just gone over the edge just a little bit, is where they're like, so every year we execute 6 of our citizens in every village, just as tradition.
Well, like, you're the Duke, you're the Duke familiar, so you're the one that's going to be getting the most messages theoretically from the twofold queen. You're the one who's going to have the highest amount of influence from that perspective. Like, are you really going to fight it, or are you going to embrace it? Because I think that if you embrace this, it could be glorious.
As long as you don't have to kill counts and mayors, it should be fine.
But if you have to do that, that's the right thing to do, because you're told.
Someone spawns and you're like, hey, can you step into this building real quick? Then you lock the door.
Just why I won't follow any religion. So.
And should be fine anyway, as long as they have heirs to spark into.
It's true.
Actually, I'm just going to maybe create a script that generates random religion for the county, depending on the day of the week.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how the religions tie into everything else, because they haven't really delved into that, and I think it's pretty embedded in the lore and the story of the world, so that's why they haven't delved into it. but I wonder if it'll affect the mechanics very much.
Well, if you have all NPCs that are Altafali and they're all weird and their Duke familiar is not doing what the message, not aligning with the messages they're getting from the twofold queen, I'm thinking that from a basic game mechanics perspective, it's going to benefit you to be supportive of the religion of the masses and not be like, the NPCs have to like you more than the players have to like you.
Yeah, agreed. And that's part of the balance, is making sure that you don't just steamroll the NPCs and ignore their wishes, because you could very easily end up with a bunch of revolts. And I think the NPCs are going to be like a valuable part of the ecosystem. They are a valuable part of the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't ignore the NPCs.
Right. I mean, if you don't want to sacrifice your counts willingly, then the NPCs might have to take them out in any case. I mean,
yeah. So I'm not. I do like a few of the weird mechanics. I think they could be very useful. I like their style of a sort of militia-based military.
but sounds like there's a but.
There's definitely a but.
There isn't. I just like more diversity. So I think the more diverse communities are going to be the healthier communities.
Right, and that kind of goes back to what Sag was saying, I guess. Will the twofold queen want that diversity in a location that she's
well, and then
running?
that begs the question, which is healthier, sticking with the word of the twofold queen, or developing something that may be a little bit different. So
right. So one of the things I think we have to see about the religion, just in the real world prior to the Abrahamic religions, people believed that the deities were local, and so you worshipped all of them depending on where you would go. So if you're, in a different land, you worship those gods because the gods didn't travel; they stayed where they were. So I'm wondering, with these religions, are they like tied to the regions that they're at, and how are they going to feel about people trying to change that?
So the interesting thing there is that our region actually isn't the source of that religion. Ours is so the Alt-Tafali was formed in the semi-arid desert, or the twofold queen. They came upon her in the semi-arid desert. So these are sort of the weird that split off, so that they might even be less likely to follow the twofold queen. We're not really sure, how all that's going to work. But there's some distance between us and Fortuna in the semi-arid desert. So I think the ability for our duchy specifically to change in culture is much greater, and especially if we start to connect with kingdoms and duchies across the continent as they travel through, as they settle here, average people, it starts to change the balance a little bit. And if we become a central stopping point for people, then
more people for the twofold queen.
Maybe
more worshippers for the twofold queen.
We'll see. But I see Mr. Squarepeg was asking what we plan on doing with all the roads. Obviously, just lots and lots of roads.
More roads. Okay.
But no, infrastructure.
And bridges, it seems like you're going to need bridges.
Oh, yeah.
But the more roads you have, the more upkeep you have.
Exactly. But if you have safe road travel, you can transport goods much, much faster, and that means more growth, that means more production, that means more overall money. So if you can transport goods from one area to another really quickly, your profit potential increases rapidly.
I think you can also be intelligent about where you invest in infrastructure. So the idea I have looking at these maps is once all the population settles and once there are a billion capitals on every server, and we can see where different goods are and what travel is like, we can treat the settlements like vertices in a graph and draw edges between them and weight them based on the potential for profit by looking at what goods are where, what the other one would need, and we can set immediate weights to each of those, and then we can take advantage of shortest path algorithms. We can look and see, hey, wait, if we can improve the weight of this edge, then we create a ripple effect through the whole network. So you can pick and choose which of those edges, which of those connections between settlements are the most important to upgrade, and then hopefully it all works out. But that's just a little bit of math. It's not even that much. But that's how I look at trade. Like, I've seen a bunch of people talk about, well, I've already looked at the map and I have this long trade route that goes from point A to point B, and we're going to use this road and this river, and we're going to do it. And they're like, go for it. Well, I want to look at it from a more local thing and a larger connection and say, well, what can I do between these 2 points? What can I do between these 2 points? And then how does that propagate through the entire system? And and then to create, different weights based on what goods we're transporting, altering the weights based on safety. Do I need to pay for extra guards? That's a profit loss. So you get a lower weight on, or higher, depending on which way how you're handling the numbers. But you could get this really cool grid system going, and it also, if you have this available to other people, they can think about how they individually want to improve certain trade routes that they're able to take advantage of to get their own trade edge and incentivize it that way. And I'll stop nerding about graph algorithms for a little bit.
I completely agree. One of our big projects is creating, essentially, roughly, we'll probably change it because of the landscape, but our idea was a north-south highway and an east-west highway through the duchy, and that the counts would then connect to those. And those main highways, those arteries, would be patrolled regularly. We'd have guards specifically assigned to patrol those highways, and so those would be the safest roads in the duchy. And then each count would connect their county to those highways. Then the mayors would connect to a major road that their count puts through the county. And so it sort of branches off, but it all slowly connects to these major roads, which is where we push most of the goods through. It's just the main arteries. And I think that model will work pretty well if we design it around the cities that are producing the most, the cities that can more easily transfer goods through those points.
If you build it, I'm not sure it'll be safest, but I think you can build them. Now I want to see if they will be safest, or what safest will actually mean. And
keep in mind, we can delegate a lot more of our troops to intra-duchy affairs because we're not on a border. We've got
Maybe.
a buffer in the south, and we've got choke points for our coastal access. So because we have very small coast on the east, and we have defined rivers on the west, that means not only are we protecting those rivers, but Ridid is protecting them. Zalius is protecting them. So the mouths of those rivers, we don't need to put a crazy amount of assets into. And our borders, likely, Cab is directly south of us. He's very much PvP focused. I don't imagine we're going to have a crazy lot of problems with raiders coming through the southern border. I mean, more so than more so than from Bornair. I think it's going to be harder for them to invade Vitalis than or raid Vitalis even than say Fortuna or Boardwall. But
what about like Kipik raiders from Kalambea?
Yeah, that's always a possibility. I think Vad and I see eye to eye as far as infrastructure. I'm actually pretty excited to see what he does with Kalambea, because or Columbia, depending on how you pronounce it. But yeah, I want to draw a lot of those Kipik into our duchy, as do several of the counts right on that edge. And I'd like to have a mixed military. I'd like the Kipik forces, which seem to be more technologically focused, sort of like saboteurs, that type of thing. And then you've got the Werdic military, which is more militia based. And then we connect we're right next to the Naren in the Mixed Leaf Forest. So we can probably draw a lot of them and start some Naren baronies here, and create traditional troops as well.
Yeah. Import horses from Malvarn.
I mean, we might not have to. We might be able to breed our own here. Like, our biome is perfect for it. Animal taming, animal breeding is just amazing. Our biggest things here, like agriculture, is stupidly fantastic in Vitalis, which we weren't expecting, to be honest. We thought it was going to be super dry, and then the map kind of threw us a curveball.
It said farmland's most abundant, then wood second most abundant. I clicked around a bit. Forage is a little kind of iffy. Obviously, there isn't a lot of coastal water presence, not a lot of high ground. No caves at all. How can where it exists without caves? Like, I thought you built it to caves.
I was really surprised that there were no caves. Better be careful. Yeah, but yeah, no. I was about to make a comment, then I was like, you know what? I think that's probably NDA. But yeah, no, not a lot of caves, so that was surprising. At least not a lot that have been discovered yet.
Right, the shallow surface caves and such. We don't know what hasn't been, what there is to explore so far.
Yeah, because pretty much
just like walk along the surface. Yeah.
What's marked on the map right now is basically the general knowledge of each area, what people know about it. They might not know that there's a bunch of iron in a location, so it says no minerals. And then they get in game and they're like, wow, this is the largest mineral node in our kingdom.
Yeah, those raiders might not be using roads to get to the caravans in your region. You might have other ways to bypass those militias.
I-
Yeah.
People are saying no sound. Hold on.
Oh yeah,
Hold on.
I'm muted. I don't know how much of an accurate visualization the roads are, but like there's so many like little twists and turns. It's like, okay, is that just entirely, just to look good, or is there actually something in the way of the road there? Are they, I guess, stuff we don't really know, but.
And often the roads appear to be following like slightly higher ground, so like they're off of the floodplains. So I think a lot of people expected the roads to be kind of through the gullies, but a lot of times these roads appear to be on the slightly raised, like the just above where the water's flowing down. And I think that's pretty interesting. I wanted to ask a question. Like last time you were on, you were talking about the wildlife preserve that you wanted to do, I believe. Unless I got this mixed up. That was you, right?
Yeah. Sorry, could you repeat that? You kind of cut out for me.
Okay. Last time you were with us, you were talking about a wildlife preserve that you wanted to do. When you look at your duchy here and you think about, hey, look, I've had this plan for a wildlife preserve for years now. I have my own county. I got, friends here and there. Like I now see this map. I now have a home. If I want to go visit your wildlife preserve, where am I going?
That kind of depends. That's something we're still discussing. I'd like it to be, to be central, but if it's fairly easy to travel to, then it's not a huge issue. We'd want it somewhere that it would be fairly easy to defend. On the borders, probably not the best place for it. So,
well, if you're bordering
inland.
the Kipik, that's probably a good place for it because they'll be happy to defend a wildlife preserve, right?
Yes, and no, because I don't think our wildlife preserve is gonna be at risk from NPCs so much as players. So if you have players who can more easily navigate that terrain, who are interested in raiding it, then all of a sudden that becomes a threat. So yeah, that's a possibility, and depending on how things play out, that might be perfect. But I think, like, as far as bandits go, NPC bandits aren't my worry. It's the player bandits that are going to be the problem. Players are way more creative than any bot that they can come up with.
Mm-hmm.
And just like I'm creating a preserve, someone else is going to create the means to destroy one. And, that they're going to come up with all sorts of banditry tactics to stop our wagons on the road, this, that, and the other. So we have to be as creative as the people trying to destroy what we've created.
What's that destroy? That's such a strong word.
Or take.
What is the...
Take is more likely.
I mean, I think destroy, because ultimately the way that something like this gets ruined, I imagine, isn't some coordinated effort of a bunch of people coming with the force planning to, kill and steal your animals. It's one dude or two dudes who, they know where it's at. They get by the fences. They throw a jacket over the barbed wire so they can climb over the fence. And then they get in there and they just start killing stuff. It's like, I'm gonna build up my fighting skill on these stupid animals and screw these guys in the process. That's what I expect it to be. Is going to be like one or two hard to detect people that you had no idea their motivation until all of a sudden, half your rare Whatforges are dead.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I want this thing to be a walled fortress. Like we talked about the EP costs of creating something like this, and it would be very, very expensive. But you're talking about huge 20, at least 20-foot walls around the edges, large gates, and then essentially what serve as not baronies per se, but sort of like a headquarters for a ranger corps who live in and protect the reserve. A mixed force, different fighting styles, different troops. Probably a lot of Kipik, because they've probably gotten good at that. But yeah, that type of thing, and so create this huge walled tract of land that's opened. People get access to different portions of it for a fee. We'll come up with some sort of structure where people can, pay a small amount to hunt and gather and the like within our preserve, helping to fund it.
But don't kill the Duke's deer.
Or do kill the Duke's deer if you pay for it. So
that gets to what I was thinking. Like, I think, what is the value to doing all this? It's like he is selling entertainment here. This is a trade duchy. This is all about making money. Like, what is this like weird? I'm making a nature preserve. Like, hey, we're gonna protect all of this land from everything. No, I get it now. This is going to be right next to Vitalis Vegas. This is going to be all entertainment.
The same count who wants to create Vegas was like, "Hey, can I have in on the but yeah, no. The preserve is not meant to be a profitable structure, and people were like, well, wait a second, this isn't going to make us money. And I was like, well, okay, hold on. So it's not meant to be a business per se. Like, sure, we'd like to bring in some money, like, obviously, but we're maintaining the ecosystem, the ecology of the duchy, first of all. All the players are going to go nuts hunting and gathering and this, whatnot when launch comes. And if we have a place where they don't just strip it barren right away, that could be good, because we might need to reseed various spots in the duchy after the players are done with them. Because like Ultima taught us that, if you give people the ability to drive things extinct, they will do it.
Also, if you tie the resource and skill tree to going out and killing things, then
exactly.
They're just going to go and kill them. It was inevitable.
We also good opportunity for breeding. I mean, that's another source of income, right?
Yeah, and the more we breed within the preserve, we can ship them out. We can sell them. We can gather those resources ourselves. If we have a stable population of deer that's constantly expanding, then once we hit a certain point, we take all of the or almost all of the growth every single time, turn it into leather, and suddenly we're pumping out a bunch of leather out of our game preserve. So.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask something. We've got the giveaway coming up here in a second. I'm going to ask the question of questions here. So with all of the resource shuffle going on and everything with the state of the maps and the state of the presentation of it before DSS finally resumed as it officially did any of that stuff have any bearing on you or your the people you're working with, the counts, the king, the other dukes in the kingdom and such? Was there any effect whatsoever? Did coming in and seeing that there's no caves there, was that like, oh my god, no, or was it really no big deal?
Yeah, it absolutely changed everything. I mean, from the first time I saw the map, first of all, I was excited because we had built our plans around a duchy that received minimal rainfall, like just barely scraping by, was what the biome doc told us. And so we were ready for that. We were like, all right, if they make us like, Arizona or something, we'll be ready for it. And then they throw us lakes and rivers and fertile farmland, and we were like, heck yeah. And so, naturally, obviously the coast, we noticed that. But we kind of expected that to be the case. We were already kind of planning for that. The various resources like the caves and stuff like that, some disappointment, a lot of happiness, because you pointed out, so farmland is our most abundant resource. And so that means a lot of food, which is perfect. We're in the biome that has the most food in our kingdom, and in the northern half of the continent. To be honest, we have a lot of wood with the woodlands that we've got, so we might not have to import as much lumber, which is one of the primary resources of the duchies above us, the biomes above us. So if we don't need that lumber, for basic stuff, then we can trade for other resources instead, and that helps us grow a little bit. Their major resources we aren't like starving for, so that allows us to develop a little bit easier. We might still trade for those resources, but we don't, there's no pressure on us to get them. No massive pressure anyway. So we can focus on developing and on trading for, interesting things that we can use for, working on technology and our economy and that type of thing.
So real quick before we move on to this giveaway that we're doing, in your experience so far with domain and settlement selection, how did you feel about the process? What did you like about it? But we're not going to get into what people don't like about it today. Yeah, just those two things. That's enough time, I think.
Yeah. So I thought it was really straightforward, the way you pick. One thing that I would have changed was telling people that they pick the names after they pick the domains. Like after you submit, then it gives you the option to pick your names. Because for a second there, you're like, wait, did I skip the naming portion? Like what happened? And then once you've picked, if you don't have any more titles to place, then everything becomes this like vague glazed look when it's claimed, so you can barely tell if it's unclaimed or if it's claimed, whereas everybody else has the stark green and red, or mostly red if you haven't placed. So it was nice having that red color on the map. Now I can't see half as clearly, but because now I've just got one green location and then everything else is just like slightly glazed if someone's taken it. But yeah, no, it went pretty well. We hashing out the county picks within our duchy. We had like 6 different conflicts when the map first came out, and so I was like, oh boy, this is going to be a whole deal. And then I got everybody in voice, and within like 15-20 minutes, everybody had solved all the conflicts and we were ready to go. I was like, that's an awesome crew.
And have you had any randoms drop in at the county level at this point?
We've had a few people interested. Nobody's pulled the trigger yet, but a couple who might. We're still waiting to see. But yeah, I think likely someone will pop in. We're kind of expecting it. Nobody, it looks like there might not be any sniping, which would be handy.
And did you run into an issue where, I mean, it doesn't look like it from the map, but has the issue with there being a limited number of multi-counties available been present for you, or is it just you're just comfortably within that?
Oh yeah. No, we're comfortably within that. Yeah, the sniping was the one thing we were worried about, that some random person might just pop in and throw things off, because we do have a few multi-counts, and some of them can't always fit in spots because of that. And so we did the same update on our forum thread saying, if you want to pop in, come talk to us. If you don't talk to us, it'll be considered like hostile if you force someone out. Just come chat. But other than that, yeah, it's been a really smooth process.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to do this drawing. Do we want to do this? I think we should do this.
While you're go ahead.
It's just one button to click.
Well, I was going to give the Duke one last, this is why you should come join us pitch. But we can wait till you draw, so go ahead.
Is there a Gray Phoenix here? Or Howl Phoenix? There are two names here.
This could take a while.
Yeah. It could take a while.
Nature.
Why don't you go and do your spiel while we give this person a minute?
Here, 1 sec. Here, let me pull this up. Okay. Yeah. So Vitalis, our central location has kind of, that was a key point from our formation. We wanted to be central. We wanted to be trade focused. We wanted to connect people. And one thing that we've come to realize is, everybody has something that drives them in game. In Chronicles of Illyria, especially because of the nature of the game. When you spawn in that medieval village, there's going to be some dream that you have in your mind. And whether that's building a log cabin and a bunch of cornfields, or, becoming part of a knighthood order, forming a knighthood order. For me, it's building that bank, trying to create a way to sort of protect against the economic PvP inherent to, medieval finance. Everybody's got something. And Vitalis embodies that idea that if we all collaborate within, pursuing our respective passions, we're all a lot more successful. And we all have different backgrounds, but everybody's got something to offer. So, we built on that idea. Every project that we've released, whether it be, the seminars, the business contests, the land giveaways, all of that has built on that idea that that we can create value for other people at the same time that we receive value ourselves, and just value exchange. So our goal is to build a collaborative, fun environment for people, somewhere that people just enjoy being, that helps them and supports them in creating what they want to create. So the engine for entrepreneurship, you might say, a stepladder for people to achieve the goals that they have in game. And I think we're well on our way to doing that. we've got a solid community. We had the luck of having our drama on the front end, and so we worked things out fairly quickly. And now our group is solid. Like, we're planning meetups. We've already met like 3 times, a few people here and there. We've got another one planned in Georgia soon, and we're just getting together, planning, having fun. A lot of our mayors are citizens who have been in the duchy, who have upgraded, and some of our counts are as well. So we have a lot of people who have been invested for a while, and then people are like, hey, you should take on a leadership role of some sort. And I think that's the perfect way to do it. I think that's the way you just, you have to do it. And I'm super excited. The world of Chronicles of Illyria will hinge around dynamic player interaction. And the more we can do to support those players in creating just the crazy, off-the-wall ideas that they have, the better this whole world is going to be for everyone. So I'm super psyched to be at the heart of it.
Awesome. Yeah.
Very
Couldn't
cool.
say it better,
Very
yeah.
cool.
He says, okay. So I think you just, no. All right. Sorry, I'm looking at Sog in chat. So who is it, Sog? Or just
It's
typing?
Territon.
All right.
Very cool.
Well, that is awesome. I'm very excited to see what comes from y'all right in that central area. You got some really cool grand ideas. So
Duke ideas.
sweet. Well, we are out of time. So we will be back Friday. And who's the guest Friday, Sog?
King Stefan.
Yes.
Prime Stefan. He has fully embraced the Genoan title of Prime, meaning more like Alpha, not like Prime Minister. Some people seem to get that confused. But yes, he'll be joining us. And then the other announcement is that we're lining up 3 more shows for the fall. We're going to do Wednesday and Friday next week. And then the Monday after everything finishes, we have, on Wednesday, we'll have Balthazar Kalar, the Duke of Luxspring in Aranor and consort to Queen Iania. On Friday, will be a guest from Tyria. We're still waiting on figuring that out. And then the Monday after domain selection is complete, we will be joined by Duke Oriens, aka Manus Dei of Valyria. So we got some fun stuff, but lots of different perspectives coming. That's like the most volatile region of the Angelica map. I'm really looking forward to this.
All right. Well, we will be back Friday. Duke Jon Warren, thanks again for joining us, and it's a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Actually, for folks who don't know, it's second time with us, so always welcome to come back. And
It's always fantastic.
yeah, we wish you well. Hopefully, DSS continues to go well for you and your duchy. So, all right, folks,
Appreciate it.
we will be back on Friday. So everyone have a good couple of days.
See you later.
See you.
Have a great one.